What?
He had too much food.
Welcome back to the Abundant Harvest Homestead. I am Papa Pepper, and I'm thinking this may have only happened because I shared a video with you guys yesterday. I wasn't planning on this. Here's one though. Look at that. See that? I obviously got some stuff to clean up that the chickens have been throwing out over here, but look, my first bin is empty, which is good because those are heaping mounds. I have to mix in a bunch of stuff and get my next batch cooking, but I'm excited. Compost is definitely working better than it ever has for me, and for that I'm excited. So yesterday I did a video. I gave a garden tour. I mentioned how my garden was in need of a lot of work and how I was kind of in shambles, but if people wanted a tour, I would give them one. Many people asked for that tour, and I pointed out a number of things that needed to be dealt with and done. And then after I recorded that video, I kind of just came out and did a bunch of that stuff. I wasn't planning on it. Perhaps just seeing it and putting it all in the forefront of my mind as things that need to be done. Encourage that. That's a nice byproduct of sharing things with you guys. But, you know, the day before, I ran out of mortar, and I ran in that night. I had 5 minutes to spare by the time I got to Home Depot to pick up more mortar. So I was starting off the next day with my mortar ready, but on my drive home I noticed they had more compost still. So the next morning I woke up and I ran and grabbed some compost. I wound up using that compost, and then I shot that video, and then I just got to garden work. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you kind of some of the things before that I point out, and then what they look like now. So I have little clips inserted from the other video just to give you an area. I wish I would have a view of that area. I wish I would have took some photos. I didn't. But one of them was this. Here's some wonderful stuff. And out of all these raised beds here in front of my chicken area, I put them in 2 winters ago. And then I added the fence between these archways. And then I put the rebar up top, but this one I didn't run the wires on yet. See, that's got the guy going right across the middle. Here I didn't put the wires on yet. So this passion fruit is actually flowering, and it's just kind of running on there, right? And now you see I have wires across there. So these guys are able to grow up, that one and that one, besides the one that was running. That whole thing now has its wire. Also, I mentioned in the other video, that bed is not planted at all. That bed back there was not planted. Now it is planted and just waiting to sprout. I'm excited about that. Now this area yesterday, here is where a chicken did have a nest in this catnip, but I don't want this much catnip here, so I'm gonna cut all that down and wind up planting some stuff in. You can see it's tipping over into the walkway after the big wind recently. Yeah, was just a bunch of catnip everywhere. Now I've got the passion fruits coming back up. All that stuff that was hanging over is gone. Trimmed them all back, added some stuff, and replanted it with some things that'll be good for there. Absolutely love it. I'll also add that not everything I pointed out in that video got dealt with, but there was some pretty serious areas I'd been meaning to do, and thankfully I was able to take care of those, and that really excites me. That makes me very happy. This area, I wish I would have just taken some pictures and showed you it a little better, but I'll show you it now how it looked yesterday. And then here is how it looks today. This was all of that mustard greens going to seed. It was big clary sage hanging out. Here we have regular mustard greens that are completely dry. I should save those seeds today. And then that bed will be open. Oh, hey, there's a prairie lizard running right there. Still got to clean up the stuff. But this was a big clary sage here. There was sunchokes everywhere. Through here we have the sunchokes, but they're growing out in the pathway. See, I got some here and some there. They're growing out in the pathway. This clary sage has got to get cut down or cut back, sneaking through. And then these guys too, with the wind, a lot of them tipped out. I'm just going to put them back in and wrap the wire around them to keep them in. everywhere across here. Now I have open paths. I stood all them back up, took care of all of this, and down here, a bunch of ones I got to work on there. Ooh man, I had a couple left that didn't, oops. Sorry, tomatoes. This is all lamb's quarters. I got to take that all out and plant that. I'm just letting it hold the position. This tall stuff here, I'm just letting grow. That stuff there I all cut down and gave part to the animals and then left it there as a space filler. But you can see all these tomatoes are tipping over. I got to tie them up and get them going. There had been just all of that lamb's quarter. Now it's actually planted with some other stuff. Looks like these little butterflies found some poop or something. Butterflies, they like flowers, but they like poop too. Some rabbit manure anyway. But yeah, this is just all that low line lamb's quarter and then the really tall stuff. I left one tall one there. I'm gonna let it go to seed. I want some seeds for other places. I also mentioned how I needed to weed that pathway, but I got to pull the weeds in the path again too. And I did that. But this is looking really good. I trained up all those tomatoes. I do have, I think, cayenne peppers planted in this area, but I got to weed it again because a lot of grasses, a lot of morning glory. This whole area just looks completely different. But I didn't just stop here. I put forth effort elsewhere too. Here is one in yesterday's video. All of that marshmallow was tipped everywhere. It was covering this whole area. Marshmallow in the corner. It grows pretty nice and straight, but then once the winds come, it knocks it all down. So I got them pretty much all standing up in one area. Still got work to do in this bed. Maybe I'll do it today. I also pointed out the hops yesterday. Hops is probably something you don't want to plant in your garden like this. I did. And mentioned how you might not want to plant them in your garden. This asparagus is going to seed and getting tall and wispy, but this whole area was covered. It wasn't much of a path at all. Now it is, which is exciting. And on this side, got more catnip here. Mama Pepper has a nice little rosemary growing down in there. Yarrow's going to seed. This catnip's all got to get cut back. Yeah, all of that catnip that was everywhere has been pruned back. I'm drying some right now. I still got to do something with these figs, but I'm working on a project with them, so it'll open up more sunlight for Mama's rosemary down there. But we're back to having a pathway here, and that is super exciting. Like a lot of things in life, gardening is kind of one of those ongoing projects. I definitely like gardening. I definitely like investing my time out here. I just don't always necessarily make the time or get the time or spend the time out here I need. And you know, sometimes the children help, sometimes Mama Pepper helps, sometimes not. They've got chores and school and projects and things, and you know, I've got work and priorities and other stuff, so it just always doesn't work out to stay on top of it as we could or should or would or would like to. But videos like the one I made yesterday apparently inspired me just to kind of crank it out, and for that I'm grateful. I'm grateful I've been cranking it out a little more. Got a long way to go and got a lot of plans. Well, that's another lizard running around. But I'm excited, and it's gonna be good to see, you know, all the food that this bears for us this year. And it's cool too, because when you move on to the next year, you get to start with the effort you put in the previous year in a lot of the gardening situations, where everything you put in as far as labor and time and investment and resources then gets to get added to your next year. And when you do that, you've just got all the foundation to build on that you already had. And this is cool too. Check this out. I did not show those grapes in the previous video, but there's quite a few clusters there. And I wasn't sure how these grapes were going to do down here. I finally pruned them up really good last year and trained them up on these 10-foot T-posts, and I got some more pruning to do, more work to do. But these grapes were actually brought down from Wisconsin when we moved down here. And we figured we'd take the risk that they'd be able to grow in a zone like this compared to the zone we were in Wisconsin. Looks like that's going to pay off. Look at that. These guys are getting ready too. A lot of them are turning red. I can't wait till they turn black. So I'm pretty sure this stuff only happened because of me recording that video yesterday. I want to give a thanks to you guys. I got a bunch of catnip drying in the garden shed, and I got my work cut out for me today. I'll show you what my plans are for the pit here too, just for those of you who are still here and curious. So you see I covered it just so I wouldn't get dew on it, but I did pick up 10 more bags of those, and I don't have a long way to go. I'm probably going to run this out today, but I want to keep it below the top level of there, and then maybe eventually when I do it, just kind of pour some on top, frame it and actually pour some here, because I've got stuff I want to build off each side of here. I'm also going to get like a wire brush, maybe even a pressure washer, and try to clean up a bunch of this stuff and then work on what I need to. But boy, you can see that stairwell there. I'm excited. It's going to look good. And a lot of people have been asking about how I'm going to keep water out of here. This whole thing is going to be a building. It's going to have a roof, and I want to put water catchment on there. So right now, with leaving it open, even when we get a ton of rain, barely any water collects in there. If there's not much water collecting in there when it's completely open, once I put everything on it and it's all covered and stuff and it's bermed up around the perimeter so water's not going to run up against it, it's going to be catching all the water that falls in this area, so it's actually going to be pretty, dry in the stairwell and other things. Yeah, I don't see any problems. And I guess kind of, if you think about a traditional root cellar where you have a high moisture, ground contact area like that, I guess this one's probably going to wind up being more like a basement, more like a basement pantry, just a cool, dry area to keep stuff in. I do have plans of building a bermed up root cellar at some point, and I got some ideas for that, for more of the root vegetables and stuff. But to me, my main purpose here is the canned goods. It's to store my canned goods and things like that and have somewhere for them to live, not just somewhere to put carrots, sweet potatoes, and sunchokes. I hope that makes sense. Perhaps calling it a root cellar leads some people to other conclusions. I get that. I just don't know a better way of calling it, but I think I'm going to work on this. It's just really hot today, and I keep wanting to go fishing, but there's other things in life to do, like stick to your priorities. Plus, I've probably got to build a yard for some chickens too. We were hatching a lot of things for a long time, and we got a lot of extra animals here. So I think I'm going to put a little yard back on the mini barn like I used to have when we had our meat chickens. Do you remember that?
He's pooping. Woo! Do it. We're gonna try him. Hopefully he doesn't poop. Yeah.
Yeah, but I used two sides of that dog kennel for my hay storage when I put that together. So now I've only got 2 sides, but I got to do something. So I've got an idea. I'm gonna see if it'll work here. All right, I did some thinking. Got Pinky walking down there to open the gate, and looks like there is a change of plans. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do this chicken thing in another video. This one will just be the garden stuff, but look at this. Do you see that? Yeah. Warning, 7,000 volts.
Thank you for watching.